Is your photographer trying to rip you off? Today, we talk about licensing. All right, so you've commissioned a shoot and now your photographer wants more money. What's the deal? Are they trying to rip you off? Recently, I photographed a home for an interior designer, and the art they used came from a gallery. And that gallery contacted me and they wanted to use the photos for the marketing. But when I asked for a stock usage fee, they sort of freaked out. They said, we work with over 200 designers, and you are the only photographer who has ever asked us to buy photos. And since you were already paid by the designer to produce the photos, I'm curious as to why you would not want the additional marketing for your work to our broad client list of art buyers and designers. Sounds great. Good question. If the interior designer already paid for the images, why wouldn't I want free marketing? Why would I ask to be paid again? So here was my response, right? I said, it's interesting to hear that other photographers are not licensing their work. And like artists, most photographers are not legally or business savvy. And they don't know really their own worth. And photography is like any other creative intellectual property and subject to the same copyright protections. And if I were to write a book and get it published once, then someone wants to publish it again, that writer would charge, additional licensing for reprints, right? If a musician writes a song and they sell one album, then a car commercial wants to use it, the musician would then charge additional licensing. And same with software companies. They produce a program just to license out copies. They never sell their IP unless it's for a ton of money. And digital photography is the same. I get paid for a commission, and the client will, at some point, they will get initial usage, but any additional copies will be licensed out for use. So why is this? Why don't I just charge one fee and then do the work and then everybody can use it for free? Number one, it's not fair to the person who paid for the licensing for the commissioned shoot. Number two, if my client doesn't want anyone else to use the photos, they will pay a buyout fee, and that buyout fee is enough to make up for any potential loss of income from additional licensing. So in essence, I'm saving my clients money. I'm amortizing the cost of that photo shoot out a little bit. But why wouldn't I want to let you use the work? Isn't it free marketing for you? They said, well, it depends. Is the benefit the same to you as it is for me? If you're a business and wanting to use my work to market your business, perhaps it's not a direct return on investment, but having high quality photography on your site builds trust with your clients and they feel more comfortable buying from you, right? So there's a value there, right? I'm providing value to your business, and of course I appreciate any free advertising I receive, but that should be in addition to the proper licensing, not instead of. And regarding free marketing, if an artist sells a piece of art, they have their name on it already, right? If you buy a Gucci handbag, they have their name on it, a Nike shoe, Lululemon pants, whatever. It's got their name on it. And if I sell a copy of my work, I would expect the same, to have my name on it. It's not out of the ordinary, it's kind of expected. So I have to weigh the difference between the value I'm bringing to you and the value you're bringing to me. And if the marketing from your site is not worth it to me, then I will ask the difference to be made up in a dollar amount. So I prepared a graph. So here you see that if the value I'm providing to you is this and the value you're providing to me is this, then I will ask for that kind of in exchange. But I have to leave you room for a healthy profit. So of course it's not exactly the same. I'm not going to ask for that much, but it's not going to be free, right? So, but why would I want to be paid again if I was already paid once? Isn't that kind of greedy? So that's really the difference between custom versus off the shelf, a commission versus stock. If I make something custom for a client, they will pay special attention I devote to their project. But afterwards, I now own the copies of that work, which can be rented out. After I shoot for a designer, sometimes I sell the images to vendors like contractors, architects, cabinet makers, tile makers, furniture makers, etc. And for the designer, they are getting a commissioned shoot. I'm making sure that the photos are to their specifications, it fits their crops for their website, print material, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever. That they have the hardest working images for their target audience and for their marketing strategy. The additional licensees, they're not paying for that. But the images, if the images do a good enough job for them, then they will license it at a much lower cost, of course, and on top of which they're only getting licensing 1 or 2 images rather than paying for or paying thousands for the whole shoot, right? It's a win-win. And so what is the value of the image and how much is it worth, So that depends, right? The value of an image is not the number of hours it takes to produce the image, but rather the influence the image will have. A photo that's in my closet, of course, is worth less than the paper it's printed on. And that same photo, if it was on the cover of Time magazine, is potentially worth hundreds of thousands. And if I shoot a photo at a wedding of a guest falling into a pool while trying to take a group photo with their cell phone, it's worth a few laughs to the wedding attendants, but potentially worth a fortune to Apple if they want to use it to advertise their new waterproof iPhone 7, let's say. And I will get paid for the wedding, but exponentially more to license to Apple. Let's say if I shoot for Nike, that one photo of Draymond Green dunking will eventually sell $10 million worth of shoes, let's say. And Nike won't care if I charge $100,000 for that, for a 1-year license of that photo. If I shoot for a startup business and they will post their photos on their website, but their potential viewers, 100,000, and maybe they only make 50,000 on net, right? That photo is worth maybe less than 1,000. And then you factor in the risk of that startup and their lack of experience, and maybe their market presence isn't that great, and then the value of the photo continues to diminish. And at a certain point, that ROI is less than the actual cost of producing or commissioning the shoot. And that's when the photographer may not even charge licensing altogether. But here, I have another graph to show you. All right, so if a client stands to make a lot, then the licensing fee is naturally higher. But at a certain point, the ROI drops, right, below the photographer's cost. And maybe the business is just a startup and doesn't have that much market influence. But you can't sell things without showing photos of what you're selling, right? So they have to shoot. And eventually, they hope to gain enough market share and eventually get, up to here. So hopefully this explains it better. It took me years to understand licensing. There's so much more to learn, but understanding it is crucial in keeping everybody in business. So no matter what, it has to be a win-win. And it's all about a negotiation, right? Whether you're talking about $25 or $500,000. Sometimes I shoot for far less than I think I'm worth, but ultimately that's a business decision that I'm employing to create strategic partnerships, right? It's the long game I'm setting my sights on. So if I can help another business grow, I will have a client for life. And if your photographer has that mindset, then you're golden. This is just kind of the tip of the iceberg, and this topic is hard to understand for both clients and photographers alike, and I can give hours of examples. And this topic, of course, has filled out hundreds of books and online forums. So if you have any questions or points of clarification, just post in the comments below, and I will try to address them. Until next time. All right, Today we discussed one of my favorite topics, licensing. Is your photographer trying to rip you off? Is your photographer trying to rip you off? Think your photographer's trying to rip you off? Gotta take off my jacket to do this. Because it's about to get real.